We're doing it live. Oh, also, I was telling Cody this. I found out why I was cutting in and out more on the podcast, and it was as a result of me trying to fix that exact problem. I made it worse because I realized that the Ethernet port or the Ethernet adapter I have to use randomly shuts down at just whenever it wants to. So me trying to use a wired connection instead of Wi-Fi actually made things worse.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's wrong with your router?
Well, I guess my router's fine now. Or better. I mean, yeah. It's fine. I'll probably move into like a trailer park soon, so coverage won't be an issue. Let's see. Where's the...
well, that's the optimistic attitude you need, Corbin.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying my best. It's fine. I can still make jokes. I've got the chat open now.
Are we in pre-show?
We are.
Okay.
I clicked the button.
We're live.
Very exciting.
That call that might have happened today might happen later.
Okay.
The OnePlus call.
Yeah.
Later today or later?
Like he wanted to do it right now.
Ryan, it looked like you just smelled a OnePlus 3T.
I'm cleaning it. I'm cleaning it. And yeah.
And he smelled it to see how clean it was.
Very clean.
Ryan, we need to talk about your inhales on the podcast. Stop it. Every
Ryan, you know who else just
God.
did that in a recent press conference, right? Do you really want to be associated with him?
Who did it?
POTUS. Right?
Ryan.
You know you're not going to do it anymore.
Stop sniffling.
No sniffles allowed.
You're going to give me a sinus infection because now I feel compelled to sniff too. All right.
Seriously though.
I guess it's time to start.
Yeah, let's do this show thing.
Hey, it's the Android Police podcast. I'm David Ruddick. I'm here this week.
This feels abrupt.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
And I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I'm Ryan Hager.
Well, Ryan, I'm trying to mix it up. Abruptness, maybe the people want abruptness. Have you asked them what they want?
No. They don't know what they want.
I didn't think so. I don't know what I want. And I don't think Google knows what it wants either when it comes to smartwatches, which leads us to our first story. Google just dropped $40 million at Fossil for some undisclosed smartwatch technology, which really makes it sound like, I don't know, drugs or like illicit sex or something is going on here. Because who would pay $40 million to Fossil for smartwatch technology? What technology do they really possess?
I mean, Google's just got way too much money. They were looking for something to do with it, and they're like, hey, let's just give some to Fossil for, I don't know, magical smartwatch.
Google's like, yeah, but how do you attach the bands? And Fossil's like, oh, we know a guy. We're working on a next generation technology. We're willing to sell it to you. Cool, $40 million.
So M Edition just subscribed on Twitch. That's cool.
Yes, thank you, M Edition.
Secondly, the way they announced this was super weird. So like Fossil's just like, hey, Google just bought like some of our stuff and like some employee contracts and whatever, and everybody's like, wait, does that mean Fossil doesn't make watches anymore? And then Fossil had to clarify, like, no, we're still making watches. We have like however many R&D people. And then Google's like, we saw this thing that they were doing and we wanted to like have it for Wear OS overall instead of just Fossil.
All right, so I guarantee the reason this was even announced is Fossil is a publicly traded company, and they're like, yeah, we're putting out a press release that you bought this from us, and we made $40 million today.
Yes, their stock jumped.
Yeah, shocking. So this is why this happened. Google obviously did not want this to be
Google.
news.
Google. I mean, this made it look like they were like weakening, one of the few companies that still.
Google desperate and unable to innovate on wearables? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like it made it look like the Pixel Watch was a thing, and that Fossil was just going to stop doing the smartwatches, and that's not obviously the the image that Google wanted to present. So they had to like come out and like do like this weird like half explanation of new mysterious smartphone tech or smartwatch tech, and then you know, we're all just left wondering. It was supposedly something that Fossil got from Misfit when they acquired that company. So
no, it was Movoy. I don't know. Mavoy. Yeah, the company that made wait. No, wait.
Mavoy is its own thing.
Okay.
About Misfit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, okay, no, it wasn't.
I made an oopsie. I'm sorry.
It really sounds like this is just one of those things. Misfit was probably experimenting with something before it got picked up. It probably sat kind of on their shelf for a little while, and then someone at some point picked it up and was like, let's finish this work. And at whatever stage, Google saw this and picked it up. You know,
conjecture that it might be like an EKG sensor or something like that.
Oh yeah, it could totally be that. It's considering Misfit was very focused on like health trackers. It's very obviously going to be in that category. It may be EKG, ECG, whatever you want to call it. It could be any number of other types of things, but it's obviously got to be in that category.
Yeah, my boring theories along those lines, that what Google is done is they bought a piece of IP that is going to allow them to build a next generation version of the Android Wear reference platform, incorporating a significant new feature, and then license that out to manufacturers as they do now, basically for free, because they just want to be able to maximize the amount of features that those OEMs can put in their smartwatches. Yeah. I don't think this has anything to do with the Google in-house watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, that became apparent the more information Google was kind of forced to provide. But I mean, a better reference platform is kind of necessary because a lot of the companies making Wear OS smartwatches are not technology companies. They don't know how to design their own hardware from the ground up.
Yeah.
Well, so everyone keeps making a big deal about Fossil like giving up this edge, and whatever this new technology will be, it won't be a exclusive. And I honestly, like, the first thing I thought when I heard this was BS. Like, Fossil already makes the majority of the watches that are selling.
Yeah.
And they do not have that many competitors that are going to come out. And the few that are there are the technology companies. And Fossil is not giving up anything.
And they probably realize like Google is going to do a better job of developing this than they are if they can integrate it like into
exactly
part of
if it's part of the OS.
That's better for them. They get free money and they still get this technology. Like, and it's probably going to work better than if they had done it.
And to Google's benefit, this could actually end up going into other things besides just watches. So there's potential for technology, whatever it is.
And we do know that having a handful of reference platforms that Google lets OEMs use has worked incredibly well for Chrome OS. Because, you know, they'll be like, I think right now there's one platform for Chrome boxes, and just every box on the market uses that. I think there's only one platform for Chrome OS tablets as well, besides the Pixel Slate, like the Asus tablet, the CTL tablet, and the one Acer made months ago. They all use the same specs, so they're probably all the same platform.
Yeah. Now Google's for devices across its, you know, aside, I think the last time they tried to do it with phones was the first Android one. But like Google is definitely involved with developing hardware reference platforms for manufacturers.
They do for Chromebooks all the time, yeah.
Yeah, across all its ecosystems. Android TV, you know, Google's definitely got a hand in that, especially considering their tight control of the software ecosystem. Android Wear, that was the model from day one. That's how they started Android Wear, really. So it definitely makes sense that this is something that's going to feed back into the ecosystem. And I can't wait to understand how this contributes uniquely to Android Wear's inevitable death rattles. I think it's definitely going to maybe prolong its life to 3 to 6 months. Who knows?
I'm still expecting a major shift later this year that will basically be the end of.
Who's in charge of Android Wear?
Oh God, I don't think it's anybody that we know.
Well, there's a bunch of statements that we've been seeing in relation to this study. They're all, or to the story, they're all attributed to Stacy Burr, Vice President of Product Management for Wear OS.
Okay. Oh yeah, she's a recent hire, I believe. I think she's pretty new. So boy, can't wait to hear that she's leaving and that Wear's changing directions again.
Yeah.
I really don't see anything.
Yeah, I don't, man. That would be weird to get like hired by Google, and they're like, okay, you're going to be in charge of Wear OS. Like, ouch. Boy, did the interview go that
Hello,
poorly?
the captain of the Titanic, he left or whatever. Would you like to take over, or pays pretty well?
Yeah, there's an iceberg on the horizon, but don't worry about that right now.
I mean, I like my my dead watch platform. So
yeah, Corbin and I are pretty much just sitting over here rolling our eyes.
yeah,
It's cool.
I'm kicking David off the call.
It seems like Wear OS has not gotten any better for years. I mean, it got a lot worse for a while there, and then it still just is slowly limping along. I just can't extract any value from it right now.
Maybe Google is somehow getting value from it, and this level of limping along is exactly what they're willing to maintain. Who knows?
Yeah, I have a feeling it's something that they're just not willing to let die because they don't have a good alternative at this point.
Like they don't want to admit that that it's not working and just stop making wearables because they think that a wearable platform is a thing they should have, and they're probably right. But Wear OS, I don't think is the one. They won't just cancel it until they have some other thing to show you.
It might also be just too much effort to start over on, kind of like how starting over on Android, that would be like a monstrous undertaking that would take years, which, if the new operating system they're working on turns out to be an Android replacement, then it's already taken 2 years. So they might have just sunk too much money in it, and they figure it's better to try to improve it than start over.
Ironically, they don't have the same approach to messaging.
Nope, we'll keep making messaging apps all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, I will believe that Wear OS works when consumer electronics companies start making them again.
I don't think that's going to be happening soon. Speaking of ideas of questionable value, the Pixel 3 Lite.
I thought you were going to use that to segue into the shilling. That was
right. We could use that to segue into the shilling to also questionable value. Granted, it's free. I could do shilling, I guess. Hey, you can subscribe to us on Twitch. We're live every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on twitch.tv/AndroidPolice. And if you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free Twitch subscription a month. What does subscribing get you? Well, the first time you subscribe, this big notch comes down on the live show display live stream, and it's fun and exciting, and we thank you and make noises and stuff. Standard fare. We're talking like Patreon $1 a month level tier. But it also gives us money, and it doesn't cost you any if you subscribe to the channel. If you are already subscribed, we'd just like to take this time to remind you that your subscription does expire every 30 days. So if you could resubscribe, that'd be really helpful.
Hey,
thanks.
And someone just did.
Hey, Atif. Hey, I think that guy works for us, so it doesn't really count.
Doesn't count.
But we'll say thank you, Atif, for subscribing to the podcast of the site you write for. I think
yes. Speaking of which, I think y'all should probably check your subscriptions because I had to renew mine.
I think it's probably time for mine.
Yeah, time for mine too.
Me too.
I can't believe everyone's watching. I never watched the podcast until I was on it, and now I only watch it while I'm on it.
Everyone, go pay yourself.
And we did mention when the other guy subbed earlier, when M Edition subbed. We did. We talked about it very briefly. Man, I've lost any and all segue for the Pixel 3 Lite, but the Pixel 3 Lite's back on video, and it's still got a headphone jack, and it's still made out of plastic. So that's a thing.
But now we can see the ugly color of lavender and the much uglier green, like radioactive green button.
Oh, the video
looks
got
like the
taken
video.
down.
Yeah, the video's gone now.
Did someone save it?
No,
probably not.
Saved it.
Yeah, it'll just get DMCA'd no matter where we upload it.
Put it on,
it was a video, and
put it on
did
Pirate Bay.
Did show the phone,
but now it's gone. So it only lives in our heart.
I'm sure it's still on Live Leaks. And what's that French video streaming site that hosts all the videos? Oh,
Vimeo?
No.
Is that okay? I don't
know. What's the name of it? It's that really bad French YouTube competitor. I'm not remembering the name. Anyway, the Pixel 3 Lite's still a thing. I mean, I've heard that we can expect it to be announced probably maybe after MWC a little bit. And from what we understand, it's coming out on Verizon here in the US. So that probably means it'll also be sold on the Google Store and Project Fi. I don't have explicit confirmation on that.
David, I think you mean Google Fi.
I do mean
Brian, stop sniffing.
Yeah, if you could just I don't know, go get a neti pot or maybe a Navage. Have you heard of the Navage? It's an exciting invention. It uses suction power to push the water in and then pull it back out the other nostril.
That sounds terrifying.
It sounds like a good way to give yourself a dangerous brain infection.
Just boil the water first. It's only $79.99.
Just sniff loudly in the middle.
Go to Navage.com/Android Police and get a special $5 discount.
I don't think that's true.
I don't. That's not accurate. You can't get a discount, but you can buy a Navage. It's a real thing. Honestly, the Pixel 3 Lite video doesn't show us anything we haven't already seen. I'm not sure.
It doesn't show us anything now.
No, it doesn't show us anything period anymore. It is Schrodinger's Pixel 3 Lite video at this point. So
if you saw it, good for you.
Yeah. It can tell everyone you
really saw something special.
If you didn't, you're too late.
No, that's the only time we'll ever see the phone. It's gone now.
It's
kind of lonely.
Even when it comes out, it will be invisible.
Yeah.
Oh, could they do one in Atomic Game Boy Purple?
Yes.
Can we bring back this trope? I think it's been at least a year since somebody asked for that on the phone.
I'd buy that. Transparent purple Pixel 3.
Oh yeah, God, it would be so ugly
with a light bar.
It'd be great.
Well, it has to have the light bar.
Yeah, it has to have both.
Well, Bisladem says you couldn't pay him to buy a Pixel, which, sir, it makes you a very unsavvy consumer. I think if somebody's paying you to buy a phone, that's a pretty good deal,
true.
No matter how you slice it.
I wish someone paid me to buy a Pixel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pixels all around.
So in actual story news, Android Q, XDA developers got a leaked build of it. And there's some stuff going on. We've got dark mode, which everybody scream.
We already knew.
Yay!
We knew. It's not new. That's not new. We knew. Rest is new.
It's exciting. There's some changes to permissions that make surface them better, I think is the way to kind of phrase it. And also
visualize much better.
References to maybe a desktop interface. Ooh.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're references to a desktop interface. So maybe that's a debug thing. I don't know. Honestly, to me, it would only just make sense. Couldn't you just wrap up a little Chrome OS instance inside every Android phone, and when you plug it in, it's like boom, Chrome OS.
That'd be nice.
I mean, I guess it would require working with Qualcomm chips, but
yeah. And then would you run Android apps on Chrome OS, which in turn is running on Android?
Yeah, that's Chrome.
Or how would that work?
And would you be able to enable Linux on Chrome OS inside of Android, which is based on Linux? Could you do that? I would like to do that.
Yeah, it's just containers all the way down.
If they honestly do a desktop interface that isn't Chrome OS, I will scream.
I bet it isn't.
That is BS. That's not acceptable.
They're just upstreaming the sort of changes that Samsung's been doing with DeX and that Superbook was doing with the Superbook. They want to make sure that it's easier for developers to implement the desktop UIs they're already implementing themselves.
It will be easier than ever for OEMs to make terrible desktops.
Exactly. That's all.
Sean Plays Games asked an ever important question. Will the notifications be dark too? They better be. Or I'll be really upset at that inconsistency.
I mean, I feel like that's going to be a thing. I mean,
they're dark in the screenshot.
Yeah, in the screenshots we've got, they're dark.
The system UI stuff will be fine. The problem is going to be that apps are not going to understand this at first. You're going to have to wait for developers to plug into whatever API Google creates for this. I bet a lot of Google apps won't even be ready in for dark mode when this comes out.
Everybody at Gmail is running around screaming right now.
And that's not seriously a problem.
Yeah, Gmail is going to be, I think, the worst one because honestly, reading email with a high contrast text like that, no, thank you.
Oh, and then when you get an HTML email that has images with a white background,
anything that uses HTML, Chrome's going to have the same.
Corbin, if I wasn't going to have nightmares tonight, now I am.
No,
that's HTML, just real bad.
HTML email is the source of many nightmares.
So when do we get? So I've noticed that actually one thing I noticed using Android Auto, because I have it on my car, but when we were at CES, I noticed that when I pulled, if I had Android Auto open and I pulled the plug on my phone, the Android Maps interface would appear at night in the dark mode on my phone. It exists. Give it to me. I want it. Like, come on, guys. Like, seriously. Clearly, it's a thing, but they won't.
There have been ways to like activate that through little bits of like hacking and mods for ages. They've been doing this for so long.
It's BS.
You have to summon it. You have to put your phone in the center of a circle and put lots of candles around it, and then dark mode will appear.
Do you have to say, let's I don't know.
Why is no one laughing at my jokes?
Turn right.
That's terrible.
So yeah, that if you want to, I would definitely check out the post. If you haven't seen the post yet with all the screenshots and everything, XDA's got quite a few, and I'm sure they are going to be dripping out additional information over the coming weeks relentlessly about their build, assuming Google doesn't like threaten to sue them. I don't think Google would.
Or they just rush out the Android Q developer preview. Like,
I mean, it's coming pretty soon, right?
Oh man,
it's coming
that
March, right?
That'd be really funny if they dropped that like tomorrow.
It should be coming in like March, right? That's the timeline
for the preview.
It's usually February or March. I think.
I was gonna say it's typically a little earlier than that.
Okay, then it's pretty soon, so it's understandable to have. This is just an early dev preview build. Yeah, should definitely check it out, and I'm hoping we learn more about the changes in Q, aside from dark mode, which everybody's excited for, and now we can move on forever. Corbin's got a story this week about the Play Store phasing out 32-bit apps on 64-bit devices by 2021. So better hurry up. You've only got 2 years.
Yeah. So, Apple has basically completely phased out 32-bit phones. I mean, 32-bit apps already. I think that was on iOS 11 last year. So now I almost said Apple. Google's kind of doing something like that. But the difference is that there are still 32-bit Android devices being sold, and they'll probably continue to be sold for a while. So they're going very slow. So right now, the timeline is that on August 1st of this year, every developer who wants to publish an app or update an existing app will have to provide a 64-bit version in addition to 32-bit version. And this only affects apps that have native code in them. So like if you make an app that's completely like Java or Kotlin or like a web wrapper, that doesn't affect you whatsoever. And then on August 1st, 2021, which is a while away, the Play Store will no longer show apps that are only 32-bit on 64-bit devices. So if you want to play, like a really old game or something, you'll have to go hunt down the APK.
Oh, and you can still keep providing a 32-bit version of your app, and it'll
they're not. Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
They're not completely phasing out 32-bit at all. And that was
my assumption.
It was kind of hard to convey that because that's also the way Apple's been doing. Is they're just like no more 32-bit whatsoever. But I guess Google assumes that 32-bit is going to keep being a thing for a really long time. And they said in the post that this wouldn't affect platforms that don't support 64-bit, and they mentioned Android TV and Wear OS. And my assumption was that like Android TV boxes should be 64-bit. Like I don't know why. Maybe some of the really cheap boxes or something.
Were there some that were Intel based?
There used to be.
Yeah, but those had to be 64-bit though.
Maybe the MediaTek ones?
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I think MediaTek shifted to the ARM 64-bit cores a long time ago.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that everything should have been 64-bit like years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think since like probably like the 2014, 2015 era, chips would have all been.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know where Wear OS is at. I don't know if they're still using ARM v7.
What about Allwinner? Are they still using some 32-bit cores?
I forgot they existed.
I bet there are just a ton of super cheap Android phones for sale on like Alibaba that use 32-bit chips.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure that's why they're not completely phasing out.
I think more important to the subject, can someone provide me like a core commenter who is very confident but very obviously wrong level explanation of the difference between 64 and 32-bit?
64 is twice as many as 32.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think that checks out.
Yeah, that's good. That the math is right. You can check it if you want, but I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
And
twice as many bits. What's not to love?
Yeah. As Sega said, do the math.
But cool. That's we were talking in the pre-show. I was worried about like my OnePlus One dying. It'll live on forever. Sounds like
it will.
Ever and ever and ever.
Well, and in reality, this is only affecting stuff with native code. I mean, if it's built on the regular SDK, it doesn't matter. So 90% of your apps won't even be affected by this.
Yeah. Games will definitely be the ones that get hurt.
It's going to be games. It's going to be like video players. A lot of those use some native binaries. There's, there are other things, but it's not a whole lot of stuff.
And Google did make an exception for games running Unity 5 or based on Unity 5.6 or older do get until 2021 to update to a newer version of Unity.
There must have been some big client that's using an old version of Unity, like Pokemon Go or something.
Or, I don't know, like the entirety of Tencent. Like, I'm sure there's some big publisher.
Yeah, because Google said in the post, like, we get it takes a long time to update your Unity because it's a big undertaking. So they have a little bit longer. They have some breathing room.
Speaking of things that will take entirely too long, but will take entirely too long regardless of that fact, RCS support is coming to Google Fi, and I'm sure several people are thrilled.
I know. All 7 people on Sprint and Google Fi can talk to each other with RCS.
And they can see typing indicators. Can you turn the typing indicators off?
I don't think so.
That's coming in RCS 2.0.
That's BS.
You can't turn them off in any other chat app.
I didn't want people to see when I was typing in AIM, and I don't want them to see when I'm typing now. That's not okay.
David will leave everyone on red. Ryan, stop it.
David will leave everyone SMS. I'm restricting all of my messages to 140 characters.
And all of David's videos will be sent in 140p.
Can you still tweet via SMS? Is that still a thing?
I think
you can.
Shut that off.
Yes. You can still send them. I don't think you can get all the messages anymore.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I know they had to shut off a big chunk of that system because there was a way somebody found to send like SMS commands to access them weird deep dark.
Somebody using a legacy technology
they managed. They were like they found a way to make any account follow them.
Wow,
they had to shut a bunch of stuff
that's
off.
Great.
Oh, that Jack's like, all right, we got to shut it down, guys. Also, no editing.
Yeah. Editing is forbidden.
Do you like how they were like, we're looking into editing and then just never said anything about it since they said that?
Well, they have to find a new way to say no.
They do.
And we're looking into it without ever saying anything is their new way.
They're too busy making the timeline worse.
Oh,
they'll get back to you in a while.
B. Slidem says something useful this time, and thank you for this. He says on AT&T you can turn off the typing indicators for RCS.
Is that
it's worth noting? I think AT&T implement. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Is that because AT&T has some weird non-standard implementation?
I think their implementation is standard. I just don't think it's interoperable yet. So
why even do this? RCS just bothers me because it's such a mess. It's worse than the Wi-Fi calling stuff we dealt with years ago, and I think it's just going to take so much.
Wi-Fi calling is garbage, and once I turned off Wi-Fi calling on my Pixel, I lost all the problems I had with network connectivity randomly dropping out, went away.
I disable that on every phone I use because it's such terrible.
It's garbage.
Cricket doesn't even let me have Wi-Fi calling unless I have an iPhone. So yay.
Only time Wi-Fi calling is if I'm traveling and honestly, I know I'm going to be in an area where there's no signal.
So on AT&T and Verizon, they're now VoLTE interoperable, and so if network calls sound way better than Wi-Fi calls because you get a VoLTE call and it's HD voice and it sounds great. I know that T-Mobile people have had this for years, but if you haven't, it's like a revelation. You can actually understand people on the phone. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, totally nuts. It's supposedly Twitch shilling time again, but I feel like it's a shorter episode, and I don't think we
usually just reference the shilling.
Twitch.tv/Android, please subscribe.
Give us money,
please.
Yeah,
that's fine. Just please subscribe.
It's plenty.
So, there's a possible OnePlus 7 leak, and I don't know how it looks like it could be a slider design, and honestly, if that's the case, nope.
Yeah, sliders.
I don't know.
Sliders are tough. I have not seen. I've only used like I guess 2 of these like new slider phones. Neither one was very impressive, and they're like expensive phones.
They are.
So I don't imagine.
By the way, Ryan, I am officially barring you from recommending a slider phone on Android.com. It is disallowed.
Wait, which one? Who were you talking to? Me?
Any of them? Anybody? Nobody's allowed to recommend a slider phone.
God damn it!
They're bad ideas. It's a bad idea. It should not be allowed.
I mean, this leak. I don't know what else it could be, because there's you can see most of the phone like screen periphery. It's in like a big clunky case that hides the body, but you can see it's like a different shape than the 6T was, and there's less available bezel. I don't know where there could be a camera that it doesn't like appear from a sliding mechanism of some manner.
Yeah, and well, they're not behind where the camera cutout is. You can see there's a big chunk of the case missing, and there's nothing back there, so something has to move into that space.
Yeah. I mean, it provides space, for there to be something inside this case. So like the phone moves in some capacity.
Wait, so how do you even do a sliding phone case? This sounds like
we can't see the bottom of this case, so we don't know what there might be.
I mean, clearly, like the back half of this phone will pop up to fill up the case.
I'll tell you what's at the bottom of the case. Some bullshit. That's what's at the bottom of that case. Because having used the Xiaomi Mix 3 for the better part of a week, nope. Not okay.
Yeah, so that phone, like at first when I first held it, I was like, oh, that's not that bad. But then I realized like you could slide the entire frame like sideways a little bit, and it made like a clicking noise.
Oh.
And I was like, nope.
Also, if the screen is not dirty and you've recently wiped it and you're trying to scroll up on the phone, you can accidentally slide down the screen and turn on the camera.
Yeah. And I feel like that like the way the slider feels will change over time as you use the phone more. So it's like it's really hard, and it's like it's really hard to gauge like how that phone is going to age, because it might feel fine when you first get it, but then 6 months down the line it's like easier to open, and it's like, well, now this is just like horrible to use.
For the people who are listening in, for anyone who's listening in and not watching, David's just been clicking the sliding mechanism on his Mi Mix 3 for the last minute or so.
Yeah, he's really enjoying this.
I'm not. I hate it. It's awful. It's really just the worst.
It reminds me of like if you put a mod on the back of a Motorola phone, and like you can sort of like slide it back and forth and make that clicking noise as it hits the camera module. That's what.
But if you pull off this mod, your phone's screwed.
Yeah,
it's just not. I don't think it's a good thing.
So we can't actually see the bottom of the phone in this picture. So who wants to take bets on the fact that there will be a Game Boy camera on the bottom instead of a sliding mechanism?
No.
You got to plug in the camera.
No.
I want like a big bulbous like Game Boy camera.
Yeah. It's a full size Game Boy camera. It's much thicker than the phone.
That's
the solution. Bad. No,
unless they're hamburger sliders. Those are good. But slider phones, no, not okay. Now let's move on to the Google Graveyard section of the show. We have a new addition this week. Granted, it was resurrected and then killed again. So the Chromecast audio was discontinued, and then it briefly came back on the Google Store for like a 12-hour like encore, and now it's gone again. So all right, rip Chromecast audio.
Yeah, and people are understandably annoyed, because now there's no way to add casting to a normal speaker system.
I mean, sure there is. You can buy like a cheap Chromecast audio from like any number of places on the internet.
They're like $50 on eBay now.
Yeah, but what do you mean by normal speaker system? Because this thing, what did it have? A headphone jack out, right?
Yeah, headphone jack, and it came with an adapter for like RCA.
Yeah, I don't really know too many speakers these days that like you could use an HDMI on almost anything now. It's not that.
I mean, the point was to put it with, honestly, for me, if you have an old analog stereo, that's really what it's for. That's what I use it for, and it's great for that. It works. It serves its purpose. Granted, I understand that there are increasingly few people with a use case for this, but like if you have an old like analog stereo and it's hooked up, for example, with like a record player, like a turntable,
you can buy a modern receiver that has a phono input that takes HDMI.
Well, Ryan, maybe I don't want to,
but that also doesn't cost what, $20, $25.
It was $15 for the Chromecast audio on final sale.
The Chromecast audio made a lot of sense at the time. I think now there are so many cast-enabled speakers that, like, you know, assistant speakers. It's just, for most people, they're just gonna buy a Google Home.
Yeah, it's definitely more of an
audio didn't have SPDIF, did it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh shit. Oh, okay. Well, then it's actually good.
Yeah, then that could have been useful.
Yeah. So I theorized this on the Q&A show earlier this week. They could just as easily put out a new Chromecast at some point very soon that just has this port in it, and it wouldn't make any difference. Like it wouldn't really add that much to the cost. It would solve all the same problems, and they'd have just one SKU to cover what two previously did.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you can buy a HDMI to optical audio dongle majig that will just take audio signal from HDMI and put it wherever you want. So technically, I think you can use Chromecast for this already. I'm not sure how well it works.
I know they branch off the digital audio from HDMI like super easy passively.
Oh yeah, then totally. Then I can, like, yeah, so you could already use a regular Chromecast for this.
The possible catch, I'm not totally sure, but one possible catch on that is Chromecast audio versus Chromecast behave a little bit differently software wise. So
that's true.
It wouldn't necessarily be like a big breaking issue or anything. But you know, you would see yourself casting to like a video target instead of an audio target in that scenario. Small issue, but
yeah. Oh, somebody else pointed out that the adapters could cause sync latency latency, so that's the point.
Yeah, and a couple of people are asking in the Twitch chat. So just for the people listening at home, the Home Mini and Google Home do not have optical out, so you can't just buy a Home Mini and
they don't have audio out.
Yeah, they don't have any audio out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's just the speakers.
Yeah, only the Home Max does.
Yeah. Whereas the Echo Dot does have this headphone jack.
Does the Home Max have optical out, or is it just RCA?
The Home Max, I think it has. So it has Type C, and I think it's.
Why would you use headphone out on the Home Max?
Well, RCA is an headphone out. That's I guess it's aux. It's an aux input. Oh. God.
Oh. Okay.
That's terrible.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know why you would spend $500 on a Home Max and then plug in your own stereo.
It's only $400 now.
Oh.
Well, you might do it if you had it sitting kind of nearby, like let's say next to your desk, and you still want to use it to listen. Like you still want to plug in headphones. Yeah. So you might plug them into that speaker instead of finding like a headphone jack on the back of your computer or whatever.
I'm not clear what the USB-C port on the back of that speaker is for.
Oh, I believe it's for maintenance.
Probably. That's usually what they are.
Is it not just for power?
No, it has a
USB-C is a JTAG.
I'm pretty sure it's a maintenance port, because I think that's what it's for on the regular Google Homes too. It's power and maintenance, I believe, on the regular Homes. So that's
there's a battery in it, isn't there? You can probably charge it over USB-C.
No, I don't think there's
no Home Max, no battery in the Home Max. No, I'm pretty sure it's just a maintenance port, because they have to be able to flash firmware to it for testing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would make sense. Anything else interesting happened this week? I don't know. Was any good stories? Anything anybody wants to talk about?
You guys doing anything fun for the weekend?
No.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Oh, we did. Was the LG G8 in our?
Yeah, that just
it was not. Oh, whatever. I thought you said interesting.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is that it's so not interesting.
Stick burn. Oh, I understand why Ken Hong said the render's inaccurate. So basically, this version that they leaked, I'm guessing LG is doing some market versions with 2 cameras and some with 3. The one I've seen is 3 cameras. This one has 2 on the rear. So pretty sure. And also the camera array is basically just a third lens in the middle, and it's a wider array.
They're ruining the surprised robot.
So anybody who hasn't seen this should just go and look at the image and just be disappointed, because that's honestly all you will feel.
The most interesting thing about it is what you can't see. It doesn't have an earpiece, and OnLeak source said it has a vibrating display that,
and that's very okay, whatever. That's fine.
That's kind of cool.
LG is going to talk about that so much.
A vibrating display. Sony already did that.
It's still kind of cool. Wait, when did Sony do it?
Xiaomi did it on the original Mi Mix.
Yeah, Xiaomi did it on one of the Mi Mix phones. Sharp's been doing it on a couple of their phones going back to 2014.
Phone conduction speakers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's lame as hell.
Oh, that's cool. What are you talking about? That's
phone conduction speakers are so old and they suck. They're really bad.
This is presumably going to be at least a little bit better, a little bit louder, because they're not. I don't think they're going to market it as bone conduction. This is more like that firm Google bought last year that was able to make the screen of the display into like a speaker. So I bet it's a little louder, a little better than bone conduction. But it's the same, I guess, effect.
I don't know.
Okay, but this phone looks like something that should cost $300. It looks like a mid-range phone. It's got giant bezels.
Yeah, it looks capital B basic.
Yeah.
It's got a big old notch.
I guess is LG still just using LCDs for the G series phones? That seems silly.
I guess so. Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, that's what they said before, is that they were keeping the OLEDs to the V series, because that's basically the only way they're different now.
I mean, I was hoping that by now they would have ramped up and they wouldn't have to ration them anymore.
I don't think they're doing it. I think it's just.
It could be doing intentionally, yeah.
Some people I think LCDs you get higher brightness and also lower cost. So I think LG's probably doing it because the G series is a big retail sell-through phone, where it's mostly through carriers and retailers. So they want to give a good price to those partners so they can ensure wide distribution. That's always been LG's game with the G series. The V series is pretty much unlocked outside the United States. I don't think that has many big retail or operator partners. So I think that's kind of the way they're playing it here. I think it'll be a very boring phone.
I don't know.
It looks boring, and it'll be another phone that takes 8 months to get software updates.
Ryan, you would think that HTC's next phone might not be bad. And
it might not be.
I love you, but you're wrong.
It's at least interesting. I'm glad that they're doing something kind of cool, a little different, because it could be even more basic than
it is. An interesting car, but that doesn't mean it wasn't really obviously terrible.
No, what was a really interesting phone was the G5. That was super interesting how they just completely screwed it up.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, LG got so mad at me for just pointing that out. Yeah. Generally speaking.
Oh man. I remember. But
you can put on a speaker.
And they were adamant that it was a good phone, and then a few months later, it was pretty obvious that it was not.
I believe LG actually said we made missteps, about
they did.
Yeah.
And then they're never mind on the modules, everybody.
That was the largest annual calling of the executives that I can recall. I think.
Yeah, that was definitely a good French Revolution level of executive beheadings. So, yeah, we'll see what the G8 brings. So, actually, we talk about MWC a little bit. I guess, so we have the G8, probably Sony's XZ4. OnePlus's 5G phone seems pretty imminent. The Galaxy S10.
I'm detecting a lot of overpriced phones here.
Oh, yeah, the Galaxy S10 will be a little before MWC, but basically will, take over the whole show. What else? What else do we? Oh, Oppo. Oppo is probably going to have a thing there too. Not that anybody's told me anything about that, but that sounds like it's going to. They have their 10x zoom lens, and everybody was talking about that. That could be pretty cool. I might be mildly interested in that if Oppo's software wasn't absolutely terrible.
We might be seeing more. It wasn't Xiaomi planning on moving into the US this year. They might announce their.
Well, there was a prototype Mix 3 with 5G at CES. And there were some other weird random 5G prototype phones at Qualcomm's booth. I didn't actually go look at them, but I think we could see some more about that. Them 5G phones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for the formal announcement of Xiaomi to be we're entering the US.
It was pointed out in the chat that the Moto Razr $1,500 foldable phone.
Oh, that's right.
That's going to be terrible. Like
Yeah.
there's no way that's not going to be bad.
I mean, look, like Samsung's foldable phone is going to be terrible, and if Samsung can't even get like a foldable phone right with all of their screen expertise, I think Motorola is going to be.
So this is going to be a smartphone, not like a feature phone.
I hope not for $1,500.
Well, I don't know.
Mean, what would they install on a feature phone anymore? Like it would just be it's easier to just make it run Android.
I mean, I remember playing Pac-Man on my mom's Razr, so they could put Pac-Man on there probably. I don't know what else the Razr did.
So I wonder,
can remember it.
Is the new Razr going to like do that wonderful thing where if you accidentally sit on it, you're guaranteed 100% to break it every time? I really hope so. I think that'd be a good.
Is that a thing with the original Razr?
Oh God, yes.
So
those phones were
open and
those were so fragile. The Razr was the most fragile feature phone ever. They broke so easily.
Yeah,
those are pretty durable.
Hinges.
They were like
no, my sister went through like 3 Razrs in the span of like a year. No, they were notoriously fragile phones.
Yeah, but
because
they were
so
thin.
thin.
At the time.
They were very pretty. The Razr. Oh no, everybody wanted a Razr.
Yeah,
like
they were
for a while. Everyone's like, I want a BlackBerry, and then the Razr came out, and it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean it was a $500 phone when it came out, which at the time was ridiculous.
It was.
That was an insane amount of money to spend on.
And then they came out with the Crazer, which had which had iTunes on it. And then Apple's like, oh wow, this is bad. So let's go.
I had a rocker. That was the same deal it had.
It's the rocker. Yeah, the Moto
There's that
rocker.
very short period of phones with iTunes syncing and like room for 20 songs or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was limited. I think it was. I want to say it was 100 tracks, maybe.
It was really because Apple didn't want to cannibalize the iPod, so they made it like, oh, you can only listen to 50 songs.
No, wait, did I have a no? I think
Apple,
I had
who literally like took over the entire 1.5-inch hard drive business or whatever it was. Yeah. Nobody else could have those little baby hard drives.
Yeah, I remember people buying the iPod Mini or whatever just to take out that hard drive because they wanted it.
Yeah, that was a marvel of like Japanese miniaturization engineering. They were all Toshibas, right? That's what it was. If I remember correctly. Yeah. It was definitely like a super Japanese technology. The iPod. We go back to the iPod. The iPod was fun. I love playing Brick Blaster or whatever it was.
I've still got my seconds in. Hold on.
Okay, you know what? I played so much Monopoly on my 4th gen iPod Nano, even though it had a 1-inch screen. That was my jam. That was.
I had an iPod Classic with the wheel.
Yeah.
A 120.
They all had wheels,
I think. And that was the last iPod I owned. And I think I had it until like 2011, and I just like eventually Goodwilled it.
I have never owned an iPod ever.
They were amazing.
I still have here. Wait, I have my iPod Nano right here.
Yeah, the only iPod I ever had was a touch, so doesn't really count.
Yeah, no, the original.
Here's my iPod Nano.
I got the iPod Classic when I bought a MacBook Pro in college. The iPod Classic, you got a super big discount on it if you bought it with your MacBook Pro. And I did that, and I loved it. I love that. They had such great little amps on those. They powered headphones so well. And I loved it. It was super durable, too. I dropped that thing fucking constantly. And because the screen was basically plastic, like it, never broke. When they moved to the glass screens, then obviously that was a little bit different. But
yeah, I looked it up, and the Motorola Rocker only had a 512 megabyte micro SD card you could put music on, which could only hold 100 songs.
That's like it was a hard one Metallica song on FLAC.
Yeah. It did, however, support a max of 1 gigabyte micro SD. So if you had the big boy bucks, you could put 200 songs.
So I actually remembered. I was wrong. I had the Sliver, which was the
rocker,
which was like a thinner version of that phone, but it's still had iTunes.
I got my 10 gig 2nd gen right here.
Ooh. Wow, look at that monochrome display. Yeah, I had a color one. That was the big move.
I was a Pocket PC user back then, so that's what I used.
Nerd. Yeah. I had an Toshiba E755.
I had some Dell Axioms. Those were the shit back in the day.
Wow. The X58 was awesome. I remember doing IT and having like help people with like their stupid Windows PDAs and being like,
"Oh God, they were so bad.
This is the biggest bullshit in the universe."
It was like when you wanted to install apps, you would like plug it into your computer, like you set it on the dock and you'd sync it, and it would like install the apps.
I was just like, listen, have you considered like maybe I don't know switching to a pen and paper? I'm really and maybe setting this on fire.
Okay, but compare that to BlackBerry, where you had to, in order to install the app, it basically had to like reinstall every app that was already installed, and then like reboot the whole thing and go through this long process. Yeah, BlackBerry was still the worst.
Yeah, it had to flash a whole new like image to the unit in order to install stuff. So
and you had to find a baby goat and bleed it over the phone every time. It was actually pretty inconvenient.
Yeah. It was a serious shortage of goats for a while.
Yeah. Those BlackBerries. And you had to run a BBS server on your local infrastructure if you had like a secure network, because you had to have BBS. If you didn't have BBS, like nothing worked. Oh God, BBS. Ugh.
We're bringing back
shivers
BBM.
Just thinking about it.
Next Android Please podcast will be a BBM exclusive.
Can we do the entire podcast over BBM?
You can only listen on BlackBerry 10, BlackBerry OS 10. That's what you have to do.
We can all buy passports.
I know. People
that
still
phone was
swear by
so weird.
Yeah.
I remember.
BlackBerry's like, listen, I've got an idea to save the platform. Let's make a really fat phone.
What if the phone doesn't fit in any pockets? I think that's where we go.
You can never put it away.
They're like, people will just keep using it because there's nowhere to put it.
You know what's funny is when I was in law school, and like this was like in 2009, I went to a legal seminar. My God, the number of lawyers that were just like could not give up BlackBerry. They refused to because, oh man, it had the secure corporate email. Everybody used BBM in the legal industry. Like you could not have a BlackBerry. These people had iPhones, but they all had at least one BlackBerry. Some had two, just for work communication. And they left it by their bedstand, always on vibrate. Like you had to have the vibrate on, and the vibrate was so loud on those phones. Ugh. I hate BlackBerry so much.
Diablo said the podcast should be a Playbook exclusive.
Oh God, the Playbook.
It
might run Android apps one day.
I remember shortly after that phone came out, I was in the airport here in Minneapolis, and there was a BlackBerry store, like a whole store for BlackBerry, which was a weird thing at that point. Like it was obviously they were in decline and nobody was there. The only person in the store was the guy that worked there, and he was like on a Playbook, just like leaning up against the wall. And I'm thinking, like, man, that's the end for BlackBerry right there. That's what I'm looking at.
Oh,
I took a picture of it. It's pretty good.
That stupid tablet. And on that note, I think we've beaten that already. I mean, that's a zombie horse at this point. We have killed the zombie, which hooray for us. Once again, if you want to subscribe to the Android Please podcast on Twitch, we are live every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 p.m. real people time.
Yeah.
I believe
East Coast gang.
PST, also BST, best standard time, and
left coast, best coast.
Whoa. Twitch.tv/Android. Please subscribe. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can subscribe to our channel for free, and it gives us money, which helps us do the show. It's not like you're just directly putting money into my pocket or Ryan's pocket. It's actually Artem's pocket.
Yeah.
It is Artem's pocket. But the pocket does then sustain the podcast. So you should do that. Also, this big notch thing drops down on the screen. It's great. It's fantastic. And you can ask us questions, and we could answer them or make fun of you. Either or. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next week.
Good night, everybody.